this were real time, you'd be talking to me about making money, right? Because you had a deal, or you have a customer who's ready to move forward with that. I'm part of that. So, who's familiar with Slack?
Oh, I still haven't.
Did you guys get all your SaveCal?
I still haven't logged in yet.
I'm having. I haven't been invited to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat
Should we ask him?
Okay. So everyone has been invited to Slack themselves, right? You have your own Slack channel. It has your name on it. You uploaded your. Some people don't have it.
We just need the URL to log in. But I can
It's
text JR about it.
SaveCal.slack.com or something like that. Amanda's upstairs here.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so my point of bringing up Slack is really just about function, okay?
SaveCal.slack.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Slack, when you sell something and everything's done and you have completed your financial contracts and work order related stuff, right? Slack is what you're going to use to get to this point. So you're going to contact the office at some point in your presentation where you've already committed to a deal, the customer said yes, you're moving forward with the project, and what do you need in order to solidify that you have the project moving forward? You need the SaveCal agreement, and you need finance doc signed, okay? Two different things. So there are two contracts. Is that a word that I like? Anybody want to guess?
No.
Okay. I try not to say it, but when I, slip up, it allows me to make a point.
You said SaveCal agreement, and what was the other one?
Finance doc.
Finance.
Finance document. Okay? Look at that. So first step, one, is pitch, right? Then second phase is close. Right? So third is agreement. There's like 3 phases, right? Present or pitch, close, that means, right, commitment from the customer. I'm trying to keep this in 15 minutes, so anything I cover that is questionable, we may have to be questioned tomorrow when we come back. So just keep this in mind, right? I look at this in 3 separate phases. Phase 1, presentation. Phase 2, overcoming objections, handling things, making sure it's clear, getting an agreement. I'm sorry, first name?
Chuck.
Chuck. If I'm presenting to you, and we're at the point where we're ready to move forward, and I say, Chuck, listen, I appreciate the fact that we're here at this point, that I've answered a lot of questions for you about what your potential project is here with us. Can I ask you a couple questions as well?
Sure.
So, we talked about the company. I talked a little bit about why I work for the company and what the values they have in us and I share and what's important to me. What about what we talked about is important to you?
Going green.
Going green. So the fact that the company only offers energy efficient products that qualify for Title 24 financing, that's the mission statement. That's congruent with what you believe in as well. And that's the most important thing. Great. As far as the product that we showed you, do you think that would solve your problem, whatever it would be? ABC. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize things, and at the end of it I'm going to say, Chuck, looking at all this information we talked about and what you just said to me, can you think of any reason why we wouldn't move forward with this?
No.
So if this is affordable for you, if the financing makes sense, on a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with moving forward?
9.
And what would I need to do in order to make sure that you're at a 10? Pricing. So it has to be affordable. It has to fit inside that budget. So assuming that happens, we're at a 10. Okay? Now what do I have?
Agreement.
I have some sort of verbal, and did I let them get away with saying it one time? Did I take 9 as an answer out of 10?
No.
Why?
That's still a maybe.
Still a maybe to me, man. That tells me if I don't have a 10, it's like I got some work to do, and I either need to like ask it again in a slightly different way to make sure that he understands that when I asked for a 10, and he gave me a 9, I wasn't really, that wasn't where I was looking, right? That if we don't have a 10 out of 10, I'm not moving forward with this, right? That's what I'm saying to you. Chuck, I would rather not move forward if there's even a 1% chance that you don't feel completely comfortable with everything we've talked about today, including the price. So, are we on the same page? Perfect. Right? Let me tell you how hard that is to ask that question right there at that point. How hard is it to potentially walk away from a deal that you just sat there for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever it would be, because you want to make sure that you have the commitment, right? It's a bravado. I mean, there's some sort of intensity behind that question, isn't there? If you don't ask the question and they sign the paperwork and everything goes through, do you have a greater or lower chance that they may change their mind tomorrow if you don't ask questions like that? You have a greater chance, right? So at the end of this, now I got my commitment, then we're gonna do the agreements, and I'll go through how that works. And then once the agreements are done, we're gonna do what's called post-close. It's the silent stage 4 that we don't talk, it's like part of stage 3, the agreement phase, but it is a completely new thing. I actually consider the post-close a whole nother process, right? It's part not talking about the deal at all. It's part like it's that calming down, hey, remember we were really friends when we started earlier before we started talking about business? And then we had this business moment, and now we're gonna go back to, hey, look, no matter what happens going forward, I'm gonna take care of you, I'm your friend. We know each other now, I know about your fishing, I know about your whatever, right? I know you, you know me. It's that rapport, you're gonna come back to that. That's post-close. But then you're gonna ask that question again. And the way I say it is, Chuck, look, I really appreciated my time here. It's fantastic. I really appreciate the fact that you trust me enough to move forward with the project. And tomorrow when we come by and do the walkthrough, and as I talked about the steps that we're gonna go through, I think you're gonna see that everything that we've spoken about just is gonna build on that. Okay, it's gonna add to how comfortable you feel with everything. So I appreciate that, and I hope you will as well. But I just wanna make sure that we're, before I leave, I always ask this question. I have a sterling reputation with my company. I've never had a client, once we've gotten to this point, that the next day or the day after, or whatever it is, decided they woke up and said, I have some questions. Because I really take the time to make sure that I've answered all your questions. So have I done that for you? Have I answered all your questions? Because if there's something that you can think of, any reason at all, make sure you bring it up now. I'd rather, while it's fresh and we're talking about it, I'm here with you, we address those things, right? It's just the same thing I said earlier, but like in a more specific, it's about the questions. I wanna make sure, and part of the questions that you're gonna ask them are things like also, not just cool down, not just report stuff, but who's the first person you're gonna tell, Chuck? When you get this project completed, who's the first person you're gonna have to come take a look at your new roof, right?
Buddy.
Your buddy, right? Exactly. You may want to ask a few more questions about Buddy, right? Why him? Because he did a roof earlier, or he's looking to do one? Is it about that $500 referral that we could do? I mean, that's where Buddy really should come in. Once the job is done, and he needs a new roof, we'll give you $500 if he does a roof with us. All right. So maybe that's where you bring it up. The reason you ask that question is, I have to talk to my brother-in-law, or my son, or my sister, or whatever it is. She's a general contractor for the Navy. I just had this the other day. Right? And it came up because at the walkthrough, she was on the phone, on speakerphone, like yelling at whatever was going on, and was like blowing up the whole deal, and we had no idea that she even existed. And she was calling from like Virginia or something, right? It's crazy. If you ask that question, maybe you have that conversation, maybe you don't sign the contract, maybe you don't employ a technician and a project manager and a finance person and all these people to start working on a deal that really isn't closed. Okay? So that is your fourth step, which we'll talk about more called post close. Okay? This is me. This is not in your like manual or anything. Okay? This is just the way I look at the deal. You got a phase right now, and this is where you are. Okay? You're just learning about the presentation. You haven't even really gotten all the product information. You haven't really done. You're almost there, right? You got bits and pieces of everything. And now you've asked for the deal. All right, so what do I need in this step here? I got two things. We started by talking about this, and I'm just going to come full circle, and then we're going to finish, all right? So first, there's finance. And then there's SaveCal. When it comes to the agreement, there's finance, there's SaveCal, okay? So, for every finance agreement, you will need at least these things, okay? You will need Social Security number. You will need some sort of proof of income, POI, okay? That's it. Social Security number, I'm sorry. Contact info, personal contact stuff, date of birth, email, right? So you're gonna get this information, write it down. So I'm Joe Smith. I live at 123 Mockingbird Lane. My email is joes@AOL because I'm old. By the way, just for you in the back there, AOL is a former service it used to do, right? For old people.
AOL Messenger. You got mail.
What does it stand for again? Anybody know?
AOL.
Ooh.
I don't know.
America Online.
Oh, American Online, yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have internet when I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, that was like 4
That's
years
dating
ago
you,
for me.
Patrick.
Yeah. Look, when I was a freshman in college, we used to throw rocks at the professor to get their attention. All right, so, and then phone number. Okay, so that's name, address, email, phone number, right? That's contact information, okay? Then this goes for both, okay? You need this for both of these things, okay? So contact info is on both sides, okay? Proof of income is for the finance people. Social Security number is for the finance people. Mortgage statement. And when I say these things, proof of income, mortgage statement, piece of paper is a document, any kind of financial responsibilities or financial, whatever it is, income or outgoing, right? Either way. Most recent one possible, okay? If you get a paycheck stub from March, probably not gonna work for me, right? If you get one from November and it's December, that's probably okay. 30 days is typically what we're looking, okay? Sometimes they want 2 months in a row. Sometimes you don't have paycheck stubs, you need bank statements. There's a lot of different things, all right? So this could be a lot of things. We'll go through the details of that. Again, this is 15 minutes, we're already over that, so. This is what you need for finance. Contact information, social security number, proof of income, mortgage statement, and that information can be submitted on finance.savecal.info. There's a whole, if you go to that website, there's a whole application, all right? You can also go directly to HERO, which was your question, and you can submit application directly on the HERO portal for that customer, and all it needs is date of birth, right? And income. Well, that's already proof of income. So date of birth, social security number, and income. 3 things.
Which one's easier, in your opinion?
Armand, it's easier just to do, if you're in the portal using it and you're
Sure.
already showing them the payment, they say okay, and you click apply and you put their date of birth, social security number, income,
Sure.
and you click submit. I mean, obviously that's easier,
Uh-huh.
right? Here's where it's not easier. 15 minutes later, it's been in review, and you don't have a decision. And then it comes back to us and says, this customer's been declined on HERO. Okay? Now, so So you take it from this finance company where you got all this information and submitted it online. You probably didn't write it down because you went easy road. And even though I said, write all this down at the beginning, I didn't just mean write what I'm saying. I mean, write it down while you're doing it, okay? And write on the paper at the top of the page, leave with customer. Leave with Chuck, okay? Underline it and say, anything I write here, this is your piece of paper, this is just for me to reference so I can confirm everything what I'm talking about. Because when you write down social security number or anything like that, don't take it with you. Make sure you leave it behind so they can destroy it on their own. Got
That's
it?
so smart.
Okay? So, if you had first gone to finance.safecal.info and input this information plus a few more things like driver's license, you would have already had them give you a driver's license, okay? Which is step one in collecting information, driver's license. Always, when you ask for information from a customer, proof of income, mortgage statements, driver's license, whatever, the first thing you always ask for is driver's license. Why?
To prove their identity.
Yeah, but why ask for the driver? Why not get a paycheck? What's easier? I don't know. Anybody got a
Date
driver's
of birth
license
is
on?
there?
Anybody have a driver's license on them?
Yeah, 'cause it's
Yeah,
on them.
it's on
attached
them
to
already, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you ask me for my driver's license and I pull it out and I hand it to you, right? There's this sort of
Trust.
pact that happens. I've just given you personal information.
Yeah.
Explain to them, I'm gonna take a photo of this with my phone, I'm gonna upload that directly into the finance portal for you so that you don't have to go through all the details. Take a picture, okay, with your phone, because you may have to send it to 3 or 4 different lenders, or just to me, and I'll take care of the rest. Okay? So, there are some, again, this is the shorthand. You can see this is not necessarily complicated, there's just some things to remember. But most importantly on all this, don't get overwhelmed with it, because when you're inside an application, guess what it says? You just go to the next line, fill in the next blank, right? It's not hard. Run through it on their portal a few times, it is not hard. And you can always just pick up the phone and say, hello Hero, can you take an application for me over the phone? Yes, I have Chuck here with me. Chuck, go ahead and give me your information. Write it down while he's speaking to them. Chuck, I'm gonna take notes just to make sure that we can double check everything. Sometimes they get email wrong and stuff like that. Okay? Also, you can pick up the phone and call the office. We'll do that for you. All right? We'll take the information. We'll plug it in. If you're not feeling, Armand, I've never dealt with this portal before, submit an application, and I'm gonna fuddle through this, and it's gonna be a little awkward, and I'm gonna have like different things that happen, and I'm gonna feel like I'm not the expert, and you're gonna see me as not the expert, and maybe I'm not computer savvy or whatever. Or, that's one conversation, which doesn't naturally happen, but they see it happening, right?
Yeah.
Or the real conversation could be, we have an entire finance team that does this for you. So while they go to work for you, we can talk about how the project's gonna move forward, right? And collect some of the information that they're gonna need. All right? Finance.safecal.info solves that problem for you. So when you're brand new, I think this is one of the better options when you're brand new, okay?
It's pretty self-standard.
It asks for a lot more information than the portal for Hero, but you only have to do it once. And if you submit to Hero or to Pace or to whatever finance company on your own and get a decline, then you've got to go and submit it to the next one. Which one are you submitting it to next? Any clue? No. Why would you? There's like 100 different lenders. Then you're gonna go to finance.safecal.info and submit it, okay? You're gonna use that sheet of paper, that's your cheat sheet that has most of the information on it. You're already gonna have a copy of the driver's license, because you've asked for it. You probably have a mortgage statement and a paycheck stub already as well, because you're asked for it, right? And then it becomes, a 2-stage, which then after you submit it, you can say, look, it happens all the time. I would set up Hero and Pace and any kind of finance company by saying, Chuck, I know that you probably have great credit, But these programs don't even look at that. You know, it's based on a lot of different things, and about half the people that we submit don't even qualify for it. So, like 50% of the time, I'm gonna get a note back in about 10 minutes that says, for whatever reason, this program doesn't work for you. But we have like a full finance team that has a bunch of different programs. What they're gonna do is find the one that works for you the best. Okay? Interest rates from as low as 0, you know, programs like Same as Cash, a lot of different things. So if you have great credit, but maybe this house was bought in the last year, or maybe there was one mortgage late in the last 6 months, or whatever. They had a bankruptcy, or they had a tax lien issue, okay? There could be reasons why the case is not approving them. Then you go to the finance.savecal.info, we go through the unsecured, we look at different options, we see why we actually call the underwriter for Hero and say, well, what's wrong with you? We're SaveCal, approve us. I mean, that's kind of my tone. That doesn't always work. But if you noticed, I had an application with Hero that was going through, and I showed Jeff. I walked up and I was like, this is happening right now. So, you know, monitor your phone. And he was like, because he's my rep. When I got a deal going through him, he needs to, I need him as my advocate to his office to say, look, these guys do a lot of business. You know, if it's borderline, let's shade it to this side, right? If it's running in the gray area, it's approved. And sometimes the underwriter needs to be reminded, and that's what his job is for me. I don't employ him, but I'm sure I pay his salary in some form, right? All right, so that's really probably very unclear, very convoluted, a lot of information, and you're welcome, right? But on a serious note, are there any questions about what is required to submit a finance agreement? You can do it on the portal, you can submit it to finance.savecal, you can call the finance company directly, or you can call into the office and we will take care of it for you. You have 4 options, okay, depending on your comfort level. And sometimes it's the customer, right? Oh, what? They feel more comfortable somehow talking to someone else on the phone, right? That's completely confident in the process. So just choose. Maybe try it a couple different ways. But if you're getting to this point, things are going well, right? So now we get an approval for you. We submit it, Hero says it's approved. So you are going to Slack under your personal channel. You're not going to create a new channel, you're just going to go on your name and you're going to type, please generate a contract for Joe Smith at 123 Mockingbird Lane. Email joes@aol.com. Phone number is this. Here's additional information you need for the SaveCal contract. It's all this, right? Which we already wrote down as contact information, right? Plus, walk through date. What is a walkthrough date? JR, explain that? Chuck, I keep using you as my example. You're in the front row.
Not yet.
I'm guessing it's when.
Walkthrough
So when we
is
do our
When
pictures?
you wanna set the date for walkthrough.
when should. All right. So here's a rule. It is not a steadfast, written in stone rule. But if you deviate from what I'm saying, be like, well, why are you doing that? Will be happening because it needs to be coming from the customer if it changes from this, because otherwise your directive is to unless the customer objects, your walkthrough date should be the next day, okay? Unless the customer has a problem with that, or objects to that, or has a reason for it not happening, because the customer is our client. They are our responsibility. They tell us what to do. But you're in control, remember? You didn't get to this point by having to tell you where to sit and do all different things the whole time you were there, right? You stayed in control, so you probably have control right here, and you can say, look, we can come through tomorrow. Is it better in the morning or the afternoon for us to come do the inspection with our project manager so I can introduce you to the project manager and our technician? What works better for you tomorrow? Which tomorrow doesn't work at all. Are you sure? What about like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock? Is it evening better? Yeah, maybe I could do 5 o'clock. No, Tuesday works better. Whatever. have that conversation, but walkthrough date should be all together now,
The next day.
next day, okay? That is, you talk about it, if they're not sure, you don't have a deal, really, right? You need to get a date and a time that works for them, for someone to come out from the company who is a project manager with the technician that's going to walk their job. They're gonna confirm things. They're gonna look at the roof, they're gonna look at the fascia board if it's a roof, they're gonna look at all the prospect of the job and determine what needs to be done for that job to finish successfully. Right? So if it's an HVAC job, they're gonna take, the project manager's gonna walk through, they're gonna show the technician where the current furnace is, if something needs to be removed, if there's asbestos in the attic. That's not your job necessarily. You may pick up on those things and make notes. Hey, it looks like there may be the A word. I wouldn't even write it out, okay? Just, until someone tells you it's asbestos that's a certified person in hazmat, it's not, okay? There is asbestos in homes. It's a concern, but don't go tell a customer they have asbestos if you don't know. If you think it is, that's fine. Think it to yourself. Make a note. Hey, it may have asbestos, right? Follow up with the technician. When the technician is there, the project manager will have that note from you because you have made a note. And the day before, so here's an example. Here's an appointment. We're done at 1 o'clock. I just finished this. I'm now going where? Where am I going to send this information on? On my own channel on Slack. Under my own name, I'm writing this information down, right? So I go in here, I'm writing down the contact information, walkthrough date. I can put in there a little asterisk and say, please tell PM to determine whatever, okay? Or please let them know the dogs, in yard have killed 2 people, or whatever. I mean, whatever you're gonna put in there, right? Anything specific to this house. Beware of weird, creepy clown dolls in the closet next to the furnace. They freaked out me. They're probably, whatever. Whatever it is, this customer collects and hoards crystal, dangly, breaking, easily broken things, right? Make sure the PM talks to her about what to do with them while there's construction going on in her house. That was important when you were there. It's going to be important when you're not there, okay? So, contact information, walkthrough date, any kind of specific information about the customer that connects you and your conversation to them and the successful project. That's important, okay? If it needs to be, this is just a note, okay? You do not want this on your SaveCal agreement. You want it in your comment to us, right? So you can put, just please tell PM. Do not put on contract. If you want something like, I promised the customer that we would replace all the fascia boards all the way around the house and around their dog house as well because we're there, right? That note needs to be on the contract because that's outside of the scope of work, right? Yes, it's 4 pieces of plywood or 4 pieces of 2x4 that are going to go around some fascia board on a dog house in the backyard while we're doing the other fascia. But if that doesn't get on there, that customer's on a $35,000 roof, the thing they're going to be pissed off about is their dog house, right? So, if you need to make a note like that, make a note. Walkthrough date. Then you'll need to put on information about the product, okay? Yesterday when I was doing the pricing stuff, you guys kind of understood how we price it out, right? I know that was a lot of information too, but you're going to put 21 squares, Owens Corning, Shasta White. Okay? Got it? Or let's make it easy so we can just do the number. $30,000. That's product detail. 20 squares of Owens Corning Shasta White. Or whatever, you'll have a sheet with all the different colors that you can choose from. Or you may just put TBD. shingle color to be determined at walkthrough. Maybe they wanna look at, you're there at night, they wanna look at it in the daytime. Doesn't matter, that's fine, put it on there. And then finance. Okay, so whatever you figured out here, whatever you got approved for, this is a PACE funding, 20-year, 4.99%, $250 per month. Okay? Just the bits and pieces. Okay? So then you're going to send this on a direct message under Slack. Seems like you're writing it to yourself, right? But everyone upstairs is joined with your Slack account. So when you make a note, it pops up to us. Okay? Looking at that, that's a lot of arrows and circles, man. I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. But straightforward, right? You guys get it? So, last thing is, this is for both again, so I'm just going to talk about two different welcome calls. Welcome or compliance calls. Okay? Armand, you're going to get a phone call. We're going to call the finance company, or they're going to call us, one of the two. Finance company, the person we're going to talk to is an hourly employee that's going to read a script. It's called the compliance script. Let me tell you about it. Okay? It's not entertaining. They won't be able to answer any questions for you. If you say, what does that mean? They probably don't know, because they're just there to read a script for compliance for this program. Okay? It's done on a recorded line. They have to get through the whole thing. They have to point out certain things that we've already talked about. We talked about that this is property assessed clean energy, which means that you have a potential for a tax benefit, right? It only happens that way because this shows up as a line item on your property taxes. Let me ask you a question. You've been owned this house for 10 years. What would happen if you don't pay your property taxes? You can lose your house. So because this is now on your property taxes, because we're using it that way, that they're going to say stuff like that. But we already know that. Right? It's nothing new. It's the way they say it. They have to say it that way because it's compliance. It's written by lawyers, right? But anything that you have a question on, while we're listening to that conversation, you put it on speaker, and I'll sit here with you, right? And anything you have a question, go like, sure, whatever, and I'll write it down, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Okay? Why do I tell them that?
So you're on her up?
Comfortable.
I want them to feel comfortable, but it's selfish, okay? These people are super nice and wonderful, I'm sure, but they cannot answer a freaking question for you. I had one of them tell one of our clients on the phone who asked a question because the sales rep didn't do what I just did. They said, hey, can I refinance with this? What's the answer to that, by the way? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
That's super confident. Do that in the house. Yes. Unequivocally, the answer is yes. Okay? There's no standing reason why someone cannot refinance when they have a PACE assessment on their own. Okay? There are, and here's the fine print, okay? There are restrictions within FHA and VA loans that require, because of their 103% loan to value issues, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So some of them don't work, right? Unless you pay off the loan. So they can do a cash out and refinance. So there's nothing stopping them from refinancing. Just the end of the structure is maybe they have to pay off the loan in order to get it done, if it's one of those specific programs, right? JC, what's up? Yeah. Where? Who was that?
Kevin.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to log into Slack. What is your password? Your first name at
Yeah. I tried doing that. I
Let me
couldn't
call
find
you back
it.
on this. I'm actually trying to start right back.
email at Gmail
No problem.
or at SaveCal.
SaveCal. Yeah, I tried doing that. I couldn't.
Alright,
log in.
sorry. So, compliance call, that's what it's called from the finance company,
Mhm.
okay? Then you get a welcome call, which is really simple. It just says, hey Chuck, appreciate you doing business with SaveCal. I wanted to go through a couple things. Tomorrow we're gonna be out there at 5 o'clock, is that right? Okay, that makes sense, perfect. I also see a note here that you have 3 dogs that are gonna be in the backyard. Are they gonna be penned up for the walkthrough, or should I tell the guys to take any special precautions? What does that do, right? You already communicated it, and they're already confirming it, okay? So if there's, I love to have a special note, even if it's something minor, right? Oh yeah, and Chuck, Chuck, we see here that you had a concern about the gate, the side gate, so if the guys are going in and out, to make sure that they close it behind them, we'll make sure and let them know, okay? I don't care what it is, even something small can be like, oh, these guys pay attention to detail, okay? So, you can put a note in there, say, please talk about closing the side gate behind you on welcome call. However you wanna do it in the Slack, it's your channel, okay? Then you say, we're gonna be doing a Owens Corning roof for you. The roofing system is gonna be 20 squares. It's gonna be Shasta white, or it's gonna be determined tomorrow at the walkthrough. You're gonna pick the color. They're gonna have a brochure for you that has maybe some clearer samples for you from our technician. It's a $30,000 investment. It's gonna be done on a 20-year financing at 4.99%, which is the best rate in the industry. The payment is $250 a month. And if that sounds fantastic, I'll go ahead and confirm this call, and I appreciate you taking the time. Look forward to being part of the SaveCal family, and appreciate your business, something like that. So this one happens first, and then that one is the way you want to end. Okay. This finance agreement goes to their email, customer's email, which they DocuSign. The SaveCal agreement goes to your email. Why is that? You don't have to understand that question. The reason is, because I want you to see what's in the finance, what the girls in the office wrote on the SaveCal agreement prior to you giving to them, okay? And so if you need any amendments or changes or add-ons or notes or, misspellings of names or whatever, I want you to check that information prior to having them sign it. So let them know, say, look, this document, the finance one always goes to you. We can't be involved in that one. It has to go to your email. So go ahead and open it up. If there's 2 people, they'll probably get 2 emails. If there was 2 people with 1 email, some of them will they send 2 emails to the same person. One that has one homeowner and the one that has the other homeowner, but it's in the same email, and they just open them up and DocuSign. This one goes to you. So let them know, hey, this one comes to me. So we review it. I'm gonna show it to you on my tablet or on my laptop or on my phone even if you have to, right? And we'll go through and DocuSign this, and once you click submit, it goes to my office. Our finance manager reviews everything, they sign it, and then you get a fully executed copy in your email. Okay? Where both parties have signed. That means that we've agreed to the terms, you've agreed to the terms, now you have an executed contract. Agreement. All right. I may just leave that up there. It's almost like a piece of art at this point.
Picasso.
I'm going to change a different color tomorrow. I'm going to add to it. So tomorrow, 9 o'clock, we are going to go through a little bit of a change because I got a text. Grayson's coming at 10:30. He was going to come at 9. So between 9 and 10:30, we're going to go through this piece of how to get to the agreement. And